Well, today I finally get to start building the roof, and the reason why I'm in the garage today is because it's Easter Sunday, can't be outside making noise. Sawing these was just more of the same, you've already seen that, but there's a couple points of interest here that I want to show you guys. The first thing is this jig. This is just a beam with some stops at the end, and I can just slide them into these stops, and this will assure me they're all exactly the same. So that's pretty handy. Now the second thing I want to show you is the way that I'm joining these. I'm doing that using these steel plates with holes, and I've made these myself from sheet metal with hole patterns that are exactly opposites of each other. So when I put them behind another, all the screws miss each other. So that's pretty clever. And I'm going to put one on this side and the opposite on the other side. What I'm going to do now is remove the jig, making sure not to disturb the whole thing. I'm going to set some clamps here. Again, I'm using this long drill to pre-drill. So yeah, now I just have to make about 8 more, and then we can build a roof. It's pretty cool. After the trusses were all finished, we started installing them onto the walls. If you're wondering why we left no roof overhang, that's because we wanted the workshop to stay within a certain width so that it can theoretically still be towed on the road. Because we obviously wanted to use the space as effectively as possible, I designed it this way. Even the rain gutters won't hang over the edge and instead sort of lay on the walls. Now we were able to close up the roof with these OSB plates. Though we gave it our best, some of the trusses didn't line up perfectly, so we had to use some shims here and there. Popsicle sticks turned out to be great for this, since they're pretty dimensionally accurate. We used quite a lot of those in all of the stages of the project actually. Some strips of tarp on the walls made sure that no moisture can seep into the walls, even if the gutters should leak, for example. These 2 beams here were used to slide the plates up rather than having to carry them, which made the task a bit easier. In the front of the workshop, the gutters hang over the wall a bit, so I made these stainless steel brackets to hold them up. Here you can see us putting the gutters in place, which was quite the wobbly endeavor. Next up, we made the roof watertight by installing this self-adhesive roofing felt. It was nailed on through the topmost part and then glued to the roof by removing the film on the back. Initially we were a bit skeptical, but this stuff really stuck well and was easy to work with. The front and back of the roof were closed up with aluminum sheet angles. Now that the roof was finished, we started closing up the walls as well. First we wrapped the entire workshop in this breathable but watertight membrane. On top of that, these wooden strips were mounted. These work as the foundation onto which we will install the facade and ensure that airflow behind the facade is possible to mitigate rot. As is tradition by now, we got sidetracked by making windows once again. This time we wanted to build the frames for the round glass panes, which we made back in episode 1. At first we went with this thin material, but we quickly discovered that it would be hard for us to mount these in the walls, so we set them aside for now. We ended up using them for something different down the line though, so the time wasn't completely wasted. For attempt number 2, I went with wooden scraps of much higher thickness. Here you can see me glue a bunch of blocks together in the rough shape of a circle. Once the glue was dry, we cut out the circles with a jigsaw.
Using a piece of the waste material with some sandpaper wrapped around as a sanding block is a great idea, by the way. Since it matches the radius of the circle perfectly, you can achieve near perfect roundness. A recess was cut with the router to accept the glass pane. While I was at it, I repeated the same process for a much smaller circle. This will be used to mount a fan. After wiping down the panes with some acetone, we glued them into the frames using regular silicone. Any excess was removed with a knife blade after it was dry. The finished window frames were then screwed to the wall from the sides. All of our backyard activities didn't go unnoticed by the neighbors, of course. One of them actually offered me an old wooden double bed that they wanted to get rid of. Of course I accepted, and one piece in particular spiked my interest because of its perfect workbench dimensions. More on that later. Back at the trailer, we started messing around with laying cables for lamps, sockets and the likes. While we were doing that, we kept getting visits by a hornet queen, and of course she deemed my workshop a perfect spot to establish her hive. Hornets are pretty cool and endangered, so obviously I couldn't kill her, so I devised a plan to get rid of her. I removed the start of her hive, taped it up with duct tape, and sprayed some deodorant on the spot in hopes of confusing her to hell. This worked out for about a day and a half, after which she started a new hive, 10 centimeters next to the original spot. Great. I repeated the same process as before, except this time I caught her and set her free in a nearby forest, hoping she'd like it better there. Needless to say, I vastly underestimated her sense of orientation, because she was back in the workshop faster than I made it back myself. For now she left us alone though, and it seemed like she gave up. For now. After all the wooden strips were placed, we wrapped the workshop once again, this time in tar paper. This is because the facade we decided on is made up of fiber cement tiles, which generate gaps. The tar paper is both to prevent rain from entering through the gaps, as well as making sure the seams will be nice and black, which will complement the lightly colored tiles nicely. These tiles, by the way, are another one of those incredible eBay finds. I found 2 separate offers for similar kinds of tiles. One of these were already used and yellow and smooth, the other white and structured and unused. Back at the workshop wrap-up, things were moving forward, but we did encounter some major stapler malfunctions.
Eine ist nutzbar. Eine von 4.
Here's the workshop completely wrapped. And finally, as you've probably have guessed, the Hornet Queen saga wasn't quite finished yet. After leaving us alone for a solid 3 weeks, she did return to build a hive in a different spot of the workshop yet again. This time I had enough, so I captured her once again, but this time drove outside the city to release her. And that concludes both the Hornet story as well as this video. She never returned to the workshop, and I'm left to hope that she found a better place to build her hive in peace. Hey, thanks for watching that episode. I can't be in the workshop right now, so I took you to a tree which I really like in this park, which is this one. It's a really old tree, it's in this wall, and look at this ivy going up that tree. That must be very, very old. Damn. Now what I like most about this tree is this root right here, which is perfect for hiding from a Nazgul. And look, there's even a shortcut to mushrooms. Little Lord of the Rings reference right there. So yeah, thanks for watching that episode. Some stuff kept me from making videos, but I did not abandon the series. I'm gonna finish it. And yeah, next up we're going to put on the facade, and then it's gonna be the door probably, and then it's gonna be pretty much finished from the outside. So that's neat. Yeah, if you have any feedback, leave it down below as always. I hope you enjoy yourself, and I'll see you around.